Welcome to the very first episode of Magna in Conversation. I'm very grateful to be joined this morning by vicar, tutor, author, and contributor to Magna, Joshua Rey. So thank you for agreeing to talk to me.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Um, in the article you've written for Magna, you have really touched on silence and rest and the idea that those two things are not necessarily same. Do you think that we have become a bit do you think we know what rest is anymore? Do you think we truly rest, or do you think we it's an ever-growing problem that we don't know how to rest now?
Yeah, one often talks about children being overstimulated, uh, and I think as a culture, as a nation, as a world, I mean, certainly in the Western world and Western Europe and North America, we are overstimulated. There's a sort of adolescent flavour about the 21st century, that there are so many things to look at and attend to, and dart from one to the other, and we're just sucking it all in. And I don't know that it's wholesome for us. And we haven't yet learnt to exercise discretion in what we
No,
consume culturally.
that's true. And I mean, rest is different for different people, isn't it? I do think sometimes we have this idea, that a change is as good as a rest, that if we just
Mm.
do something different to our
Yeah.
brain, it's the same. But that's not necessarily true, is it?
No, I don't. Absolutely, I don't think so. I think I've been I've been reading quite a lot in the letter of James and thinking about how to translate the word that's customarily translated as temptation. And if you look into the context and really think about what James is saying, I think an appropriate translation is distraction. And I think a lot of the time what we take hold of under the guise of rest is actually distraction, taking our
Yes.
minds off the things that distress or worry us or weigh us down. Whereas very often rest is either about laying them down rather than distracting ourselves from them. And sometimes a necessary preliminary to laying them down is being in them rather than blotting them out.
Yes, that really touches on you quoted in your article, you had this lovely quote from Marcus Aurelius where you said, people are always looking for somewhere to retreat to, villages, unspoilt coastline, mountainsides, but nowhere a person can go away to is so calm and free from worry as one's own inner self. I have to admit, I read that and thought, well, I think my inner self is where my frantic worry lives. Do you,
Yeah.
do you think sometimes this idea of silence, moving into this idea of silence, do you think sometimes people are actually scared of that? That's what puts them
Oh,
off.
I mean, I don't know about people. I am. Because sometimes when we fall silent, when the mind's inner monologue ceases, when we stop distracting ourselves with content and conflict and stuff, the things that come to us out of the dark are the things that we've been trying to push away. And the harder and longer we've pushed them away, the bigger they come back. Uh, and that can be unsettling, because then we go for 40 days into the wilderness, and who do we meet? We meet the devil. I mean, this is very seasonal. Here we are at the beginning of Lent. The desert is the place through which we come to a real deep and true peace. But we
Mhm.
have to get there by going through all the things that we've been pushing away from us. We can't put them off. We can't push them down. We can't paper over them or paint over them. They are what they are, and we have to be, the only way out is through.
True.
So yes, it's a little scary.
It's a little scary. I have a copy of your book here, A Season of Silence. When I read this, I really felt like it was sort of the couch to 5K of silent meditation. It's very much sort of a beginner's guide of how you develop a practice of silent meditation. But I suppose I have two questions about that. Is one, how did you start with writing the book? But also, without a couch to 5K, what was your first experience of
Yeah.
delving into silence?
Well, I mean, I'd always been aware that there was this thing called silent prayer, but I
Mm.
just didn't get it at all. I mean, I'm a cradle atheist, and I became a Christian in my mid-20s when I was working in the city, and So I've always come to faith with this kind of slightly hard charging, quite cerebral kind of approach, and my go-to is to read the Bible or talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Um, and when I was at theological college, all the clever kids were doing silent prayer, and I didn't really get it. And it always seemed to me to be about a sort of absence of something. And it was, I think, one of the really helpful things for me that came to me as useful things often do out of left field was working for the Bishop of Southwark, Bishop Christopher Chesson, who very much to the sorrow of the diocese will retire in August. I was his chaplain for 4 or 5 years, and he's a notoriously good listener. He showed great episcopal judgment by never for a moment listening to a word I said to him. But at any rate, one picked up from him a habit of listening, and a sense that listening, although it seems like there's nothing going on, is incredibly powerful. And that helped me reconceptualize not just at a social and a pastoral level, but silent prayer, because silence seemed like nothing, but listening seems like everything, just not me. It's going out beyond myself. And that notion of listening was for me very helpful in making this seem like something worth doing and something that I could do or could get into, because it's not really, if you're doing it, you're not really doing it. That's the paradoxical quality of silent prayer. So that was really the really helpful insight for me, was that it's about listening.
No, I love that. And I love how in the book you start by teaching sort of a practice in a quite practical way, like find a place to sit and consider your environment. And this is a really practical way to find a place to be silent and to practice silent listening, perhaps is a better way than silent prayer. But then later on you talk about how, and you touch on this a bit in the article, about how you can sit on the train, about how you can take that silence with you.
Yes.
It's not about your environment. Silent isn't finding a silent place to be, is it?
Correct.
How has your practice of silence developed to get to that? And do you think it's taken you quite a long time to figure out that silence that you take with you?
Yeah. Well, and the first thing I'd say, I haven't figured it out. I think we're all, and this is a general truth about the Christian life, that it's like one of those annoying mountains in Scotland, where the higher up you go, the higher you realize the mountain is. There is always a yet more. There is always something deeper and more with God, and silent prayer as a way in is just the same. So I feel like I'm only just on the fringes of it, and as I say in the introduction of the book, I'm not that good at it. I really am not a kind of natural to this. But what I would say is that those two aspects of it, the daily regular discipline, quite high stakes, quite a severe, austere, I'm doing this whether I like it or not, intentional silence, that is incredibly resourcing to, as you say, an inner silence that you can kind of step into, like Marcus Aurelius says, anytime, when you're on the train, when you're in the doctor's waiting room, when you're waiting, like you're in the pub with a mate, he goes off to the toilet. Do you pick up the phone and go vup, or do you just sit and be there amidst everything that's going on in the silence, but in the pub around you, but just being in that inner receptive silence of appreciating and listening to whatever is going on and taking joy in it. And so the disciplined silence every morning resources the capacity to be in silence wherever. And then if you're in silence wherever, that feeds back into the disciplined silence.
Yeah. And I love that notion of yet more. You're right. There's always a yet more that you can do in any sort of religious discipline and practice as you explore your faith. There's always going to be that yet more that you can do.
Well, yes. If we have understood it, it is not God.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. I really hope that people will enjoy reading the article, that will reach out perhaps to read the book, and we'll have consider perhaps reaching out to this discipline of silent prayer, of silent listening. It genuinely made me think, maybe this is something I should do, and I should discipline myself to in a way that I hadn't before. So thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. And it's been nice talking to you. And I really hope people will go for it. Certainly, if you do it for 40 days and see if you like it.
We'll see what happens after that.